Right, so quite the card has been revealed, right? Standing ovation. If 3 or more auras of suspense have left the arena this turn, this gets, when this hits a hero, take an extra turn after this one. Now, it is somewhat balanced, right? At the beginning of the next end phase, they get to draw up to their intellect, right? So it's not just a clean beat them down over the course of 2 turns. No, it is balanced in the sense that they will recoup their block and be able to withstand your extra turn. But it is still quite the bonkers card, right? So when a card like this comes out, I am just on it, right? Because, yeah, this is a fun effect that I want to see how far we can take it. Now, I haven't done anything really shenanigan-based, I think, in a little bit, so if you haven't seen this type of thing, this is definitely arseful, right? I will 100% admit to that. But this is just about figuring out the extremes of the card. I also do want to just say, it's insult to injury, right? So, for one, Pleiades not being a bard hurts, but then also this is just the perfect card for Melody and Final Act, right? Because usually for Final Act, the big issue is you can get the board state set up and you're all ready to go, but it's the one transitional turn because you have to keep the majority of your hand, so you can't really block. So you give your opponent one free turn. If you're cashing out, right, especially into Arcane, you've gone rid of all your Null Rune or your Arcane Barrier, and it's just miserable, right? So if you had a way to set up, get an extra turn, and then go into it, that would be fantastic. So, yeah, a little bit insulting that she's not a bard, and the perfect Final Act / bard card is, again, for a hero who seems to be a bard, but not a bard. Anyway, let's get into it. So, starting off, equipment-wise, we're gonna take the Helm of Bison's Peak, Garland of the Spring, and Goliath Gauntlet. Yeah, again, complete shenanigans, but let's see what we can do right now. I will probably say this will be confusing, right? I am bound to get confusing. I was confused when I put it together. Worse yet, I misread the in the palm of your hands aura card, right? For whatever reason, I didn't think it was draw on play. It was just draw when it leaves, and I don't quite understand why it's draw on play because it's pretty nuts, and we'll go into why. But we'll start off turn 1, nice and simple. Obviously, again, we've rigged it, so let's say our hand is 3 in the palm of your hands and a titanium bubble. So what can we do? Well, we can play and draw, play and draw, play and draw, which means as long as we keep hitting blues, and the titanium bubbles can be any blues, we can essentially draw 3 cards, right? So we've pitched 6 to play all 3 in the palm of your hands. They're going to end up on board, they're going to draw us a card each time, so we get 1 more pitchable, Promising Terrain, and Seismic Eruption, meaning our board state ends up like this. We have 3 in the palm of your hands, all with 2 suspense counters apiece, a Promising Terrain, and 4 Seismic Surge, since Promising Terrain has buffed Seismic Eruption. Now, obviously, cards have had to align, but still, right, we have our in the palm of your hands all set up and primed. So just to add on to that, we might as well go Garland of the Spring into our Helm of Bison Peak for 1 extra intellect, right? So Promising Terrain has go again, and Seismic Eruption is an instant. Same with the in your palms. That's also another interesting choice, right? Why is it instant? I feel like it should have probably just been playable on your turn. And again, I have a very valid reason for saying that you will probably see a bit more apparent once we get into the later turns, right? So yeah, we have a nice big board state and we have 5 intellect. So no card in arsenal, but it's fine. We have 5 cards in hand plus the Promising Terrain, right? So turn 2, we hit our Thespian Charms, and this is where things get a little bit crazy, right? So Thespian Charm, return an aura permanent you control to its owner's hand. And hey, we thought Auxilio was bad, right? No, because each Thespian Charm is now worth 2 cards. You get an in your palm back, and then you get to play it, right? So it leaves, you draw a card, you play it, you get another card. So yeah, as long as we have the resource, as long as we have the blues, which we do, right? We get to draw a whole bunch more, right? So we'll do the first one to keep it nice and simple. We play a Thespian Charm, 1 in your palm leaves, it comes to our hand, and we get to draw a card. So in this case, we've drawn a buckle. From there, we play it by pitching, floating a resource, and we get another card. So we've also gained a confidence, which will be relevant for our extra turn. But so far, so good. So now we'll play out the rest of the Thespian Charms, and this is what our hand ends up as, right? We have our buckle, our pitchball for it, we have embolden, some pitchballs, and of course our standing ovation. Not to mention, we still do have that 4 seismic surge. So standing ovation only costs 2, which means we can have a little bit of fun with our emboldens now, right? So through embolden, we can play it, right? Embolden itself will let us draw, so that's where the surface shaking comes from. So the only hang up here for now is that one of our in your palms has 2 suspense counters instead of 1, right? They're out of sync, but right? Again, for standing ovation, 3 or more auras of suspense have to have left. Thanks to our Thespian Charms, 3 have. the same one, but 3 times, right? So separate instances, beautiful, right? So then we get to play. Bolden on board, Service Shaking on board, 3 more Seismic Surge racked up for our next turn, Confidence racked up for our next turn, and of course the in your palms of your hands. 2 resources floating after we play the Embolden, right? We've pitched 2 into that. 1 pitch remaining for our Buckle, and then Standing Ovation plus our Goliath Gauntlet, meaning we get to swing for 11 Dominate to try and get that second turn. So, I would assume it probably hits at this point, right? I think 11 Dominate has a decent chance of landing, but do correct me if I'm wrong. We can always shift stuff around. So that is our turn 2, which means we now have to figure out the in your palms of your hand, but this is where Superstar comes into play. Instant tap, remove a suspense counter from an aura you control, and then you may put it on a different aura, right? So you don't have to, meaning that we get to actively manipulate it in the palm of your hands, meaning that in your palm of your hands is actually off of a blue, and again, we're Guardian, so I would assume it's easy enough to have a blue with it, is gain a resource and draw a card, right? It replaces itself when you play it. You can then Pleiades it on your opponent's turn to remove a counter on your turn because you've played it, and then she untaps anyway. Heck, you could then Pleiades it on your opponent's turn to get a card from it, right? So it's a gain a resource and draw a card either on your opponent's turn or your next turn. So yeah, it is pretty nuts, but that is how we line them up. And so then going into our first extra turn, we get to trigger all of the in the palms of your hand, right? So no counters, meaning we draw a whole bunch. We get a Promising Terrain, a Seismic Eruption, another Embolden, some Pitchables, and a Standing Ovation. Now, I'm going to speed this up just so we can easily go through it, right? So imagine we play the Embolden and we get a pummel off of it. So this is our first extra turn, right? Because yeah, it's not just one. We can now do it again since we've had 3 Auras of Suspense leave. So again, we have that Confidence trigger. We have Service Shaking, so we'd be able to cycle our cards if we don't quite have stuff we want. So there's a little bit of leeway there, actually. We have 3 Seismic Surge, and we have the Embolden from the last turn. So that is a +5. Meaning that this Standing Ovation is now a 17 with Confidence thanks to the pummel. Not to mention we've set up another Embolden for our following turn, a Promising Terrain, and some more Seismic Surge. So now, will a 17 Confidence hit? Again, I'm going to say, yeah, probably would, right? And again, it's debatable to me whether or not Confidence is either as good as or better than Dominate, because I want clarification. You cannot defend with more than 2 non-block cards, right? Does that influence equipment? Because it definitely influences the arsenal, right? It can either be your defense reaction from arsenal, card from hand, or 2 cards from hand. So either way, it is quite good, right? So yeah, 17 Confidence, Standing Ovation gets us our turn 2, right? And for turn 2, we'll keep it nice and simple. I don't even need the card from Promising Terrain, just call it an Arsenal card for the turn afterwards. Again, we have our 3 Seismic Surge, so that's a discount there. We can say we draw Terra Sunder, which now has more relevancy. That's another thing to keep in mind, right? All the discard effects don't matter as much, right? Because Standing Ovation allows your opponent to draw back up to their intellect, so if you force discard on them, then they're just going to recoup it for your extra turn. So it is balanced in that sense, but yeah. Turn 2, Terra Sunder into Batter to a Pulp for a 16 Dominate, thanks to, again, that extra Embolden, right? And then we have a card spare to Arsenal. So altogether, that was an 11 Dominate into a 17 Confidence into a 16 Dominate. So 3 turns in a row as Pleiades. Now, again, I did not read that that in the palm of your hands was draw a card on entry, right, when you play it. So the initial run of this that I had was still it was 3 Emboldens into a Standing Ovation into like a Macho Grande, right? So that still would have been a 30-some turn. And this is all off of just the singular Revealed Aura of Suspense. So Thespian Charm is one thing, but the fact that, you know, they're 2 counters, and I can understand the rationale for why it has 2 suspense counters, not 3. The idea then is it's easier to align multiples, but you have Pleiades to just get over that too. Again, you use it on your turn, you're going to untap at the end of your turn, and then you can use it on your opponent's turn. So yeah, you can get rid of all the counters by your opponent's turn for free and get that extra card. Plus then in blue, you're floating a resource on your turn. So yeah, it's going to be pretty nuts to see how realistic this is, because again, this is definitely the extreme. Things have definitely aligned, but all it will take is, 2, 3, maybe 4 Auras of Suspense, and you will definitely be able to land, or at least go for your Standing Ovation, right? She doesn't have quite the inbuilt dominance, so to speak, but you do have Confidence, and again, Confidence is pretty nice. We haven't seen the plethora of the crowd cheers you, and I assume there will be, because Tough Nut definitely needs some. So yeah, overall, it's going to be pretty nuts. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.